We designed our new Fast Track front suspension system from the ground up to be the ultimate front suspension. We started with our own geometry in order to get the correct caster, camber, roll center, everything that we felt would provide the best ride and handling and performance for a car.
In order to keep all that geometry intact, we've gone through and designed our own bushings and our own mounting systems for the entire suspension.
The industry standard is a polyurethane bushing that works great on smaller cars but tends to flatten out and have a lot of deflection when used in a performance application.
We use a Delrin bushing.
Delrin has zero deflection and it soaks up all the vibration, eliminating any feel from the road or road noise.
That bushing is made specific for this application. We sleeve the inner with a bronze oil light bushing. This is a suspension that's designed, not to be for a show car, but to handle 100,000 miles. So it's made up of probably 100 components that are completely specific to this front suspension.
As important as all the suspension components are to the ride and handling, it's equally important how they're put together.
Everything on this chassis, as far as the brackets go, is mounted in a double shear manner, which means that the bolt's supported from both sides.
We use all grade 8 hardware throughout the entire front suspension.
All the bracketry on this is built as bulletproof as possible.
Both upper and lower control arms are built from thick wall, large diameter tubing to provide the most strength. Additional bracing and gussets have been welded in crucial areas in the control arms to increase strength and reduce flexing.
On the upper control arm, we've used a 4140 chromoly mount that uses a 2-bolt design.
The control arm is reverse mounted to the cross member, so you can simply loosen the nut, add shims to increase your caster, camber, and get your alignment settings where you want them. Our lower control arms are designed with a swept back rear portion in order to allow for wide tire clearance and full turn ratios. Our lower shock mount and sway bar mount are integrated into the lower control arm, built from strong 1/4-inch material.
The way we've located the shock in this front suspension is that it's as close to the ball joint as possible without any binding, what that means is that you get an accurate spring rate or motion ratios as close to 1-to-1 on this chassis, which means you can run a 500-pound spring where you may ordinarily have to run a 650-pound spring. It allows for a better ride, and it's a little bit easier on some of your components.
When it comes to the spindle of our suspension, we wanted to use the best available. The current products available in the hot rod industry simply weren't going to make it.
It's based around a Corvette C6 spindle, but the geometry is all unique to the Roadster shop. What we've concentrated on quite a bit is to improve the camber gains over what some of the stock Corvette stuff is, just to make it a little more friendly to some of these heavier, larger vehicles. The rack and pinion on a stock Corvette, it's located about 3 or 4 inches higher than what our rack is, and what we've done is make a drop steering arm.
Our billet aluminum steering arm is made of 7075 T6 aluminum. The drop steering arm is designed for optimal oil pan and engine clearance and placement of the rack, and also eliminates any and all bump steer.
The rack and pinion on this, it's a fairly quick ratio. We offer it in a 20-to-1 as well as a 15-to-1 ratio. It's mounted in a double shear manner where that rack uses a good quality bushing, and it won't wear, it won't move side to side, and the bolts are fully supported. We use a Spline front sway bar on this. It's designed to be as user-friendly as possible at the track and on the street, and even when assembling the chassis. We use a simple split collar that retains that sway bar.
On all our front suspensions, you can run up to a 10-inch wide wheel with our sway bar configuration.
Sway bar diameters range from 95 thousandths on up to a 250 wall sway bar, so it's fully adjustable for larger and heavier vehicles.
We chose the C6 Corvette End Link because of its durability and proven performance.
A lot of these cars, when you get them lower to the ground, and that seems to be the trend, is getting ride heights lower and lower, well, it gets harder to turn a wheel inside of a fender. So the initial front end, we designed this as a 54.5-inch track width, this suspension kind of evolved, and it's now available in two track widths, a 54.5 and a 58.5 inch track.
The coilover is one of the few parts that we don't build in-house. So when looking for manufacturers to supply this, we wanted something that had proven race heritage, yet friendly street manners.
The shock that we've selected to use on this front end is an AFCO product. It's a great shock out on the autocross course and the road course, but it's very easy to tame it back and make it a great riding shock for the street.
We took into account the rigors of driving and what these cars will go through when designing this front suspension. Doing this, we felt the need for positive and negative bump stops to be placed on the chassis.
So that means that you're not relying on your shock to absorb the impact if the suspension does bottom out, and that'll protect the life of your shock and protect the performance of your shock. It also helps out because you're not hanging the suspension from the extended shock. You don't have to compress the spring to remove the shock. And again, that touches back to how easy it is to tune this at the track. You can do spring swaps in a matter of minutes and alter your ride heights very easily with a simple spanner wrench and just by taking the load off of the car.
The suspension system is designed to be driven in extreme situations and put through some serious abuse on the track.
Along with just the functionality and strength of it, each and every bracket on it's designed to look as good as it performs. And we try to carry that through our complete chassis design, so it not only functions great, but it looks pretty cool too.